Hello everyone, this is POW Ponder on Weather. In this update, we're going to be going over our next snowstorm, plus snow reaching as far south as Texas, and an update on our storm potential for next weekend. Welcome back everyone, how's it going out there? Happy Sunday. Let's take a pause right now and go ahead and hit the like button as well as subscribe if you hadn't subscribed already. Free to do so. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to get all my daily updates where I give you a full breakdown on the overall setup for your week ahead so you can plan. So let's go over and talk about what's happening on the North American view here. You can see this is your overall temperature anomalies for the next 7 days, which puts you through the end of January here. Here's the graph at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. So all your areas in green right here are temperatures averaging 10 degrees below average, what you normally see for this time of year, and all your blues are indicating 5 to 7 degrees below average. So your below average temperatures lie from central to eastern 2/3 of the US, and then our warmer than average temperatures are out west, with those well above average temperatures extending into Alaska, reaching into the British Columbia area, into western parts of Canada with those well above average temperatures, and then above average out here off the west coast. But as we get into the first week of February, these well below average temperatures start to moderate out east. It's still below average, but not nearly as intense as what you're going to see this week. And then all the action shifts out to the west with those well below average temperature anomalies. Now they're getting the 10 to 15 degree below average temperatures for that first week of February. Well, let's take you back for the temperatures this morning. And these are actually real-time temperatures that's taking place right now for Sunday, January 23rd here. And you can see the below zero temperatures all the way extended into Iowa here with those below zero temperature readings, even 21 below in portions of North Dakota. But all these areas in blue and here are indicating your freezing temperatures, and it's only not freezing well to the south. So it's plenty cold air around this morning. And let's take a look at the overall hazard setup with our first initial snowstorm. It's going to be several clipper systems. They're going to amount to a good 2 to 4 inch swath in places into where they've got winter weather advisories in portions of Illinois here, southern Michigan, as well as northern and central Indiana and Ohio here, in northern West Virginia, as well as western PA and portions of New York. And then you get all that freezing weather down here in Florida, where they're going to be experiencing some freezing temperatures tonight, with all those plunging temperatures with freeze warnings and freeze watches for all the way into central Florida for tonight. So let's take a look at our overall setup for our clipper system. We got some snow breaking out by midday into portions of Indiana here, Ohio, portions of western PA and upstate New York. That's why they've got those winter weather advisories in place. We're watching this area of low pressure here down here in portions south of Mexico. That's going to set the stage and eventually bring some rain into portions of Texas coming up on Monday. So as we go to Monday, we can see that low pressure forming, but it forms pretty far south into Mexico, but it's not going to be able to reach that far north because it forms so far south. It's more or less going to hit the central and southern areas of Texas with some rain. I mean, this area desperately needs some rain. Unfortunately, I don't really see much from this particular system, from in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But yeah, we're still looking at our clipper system sending spokes and spokes of snow into northern Illinois, northern Indiana, northern Ohio, getting into Michigan here, in portions of the upper Great Lakes, where they're going to be seeing some snow with this clipper system. Then as we get into that Tuesday time frame, it starts to wind down. It starts to fade. This whole area is not under a winter weather advisory, but you're going to be getting about 1 to 2 inches of snow from this system. And this system down here with this upper level low more or less traverses along the I-20, I-30 corridor with those heavier rain showers, but it doesn't pull any further than that, as our eyes will be turning towards our next developing system that's going to start taking shape in the middle section of the country. But with this first initial snowstorm, all these areas in blue were really where they have those winter weather advisories are going to get in the area of 2 to 4 inches of snow from this system into portions of Illinois, going into Indiana, Ohio, as well as western PA here, and then all these other areas into Minnesota, into Wisconsin, all the way into portions of the Mid-Atlantic and the New England area. Again, less than 2 inches of snow, anywhere from a trace to up to 2 inches, and that could fall just south as West Virginia, get into portions of Kentucky here, as well as northern parts of Virginia, with our first initial snowstorm that's really going to be starting to take shape now and extending all the way through midday on Tuesday timeframe before it pushes off the coast here. But then by Tuesday morning, here's the overall setup. So we start to modify a little bit further off to the south. You can see these temperatures into the 40s. These are low temperatures as you wake up on 6 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday timeframe, with another shot of Arctic air to our north that's going to be plunging southward as we go into midweek. So now all these areas in purples up here in Canada, that is your below zero temperatures, again extending all the way down into portions of Iowa here, and out west you've got widespread 20s and teens awaiting for our next snowstorm. But look at Amarillo here, coming in at 26 degrees on Tuesday, and all these areas in Colorado, portions of Kansas into Nebraska here, plenty cold to snow, because as we look at our next system, we've got another upper level low feature that's going to be taking shape in the midsection of the country. Now, because of this system, this first initial system's not going to be able to reach that far north. That's going to allow this second system that's trailing back behind it to pull a little bit further south than what originally thought. So that's going to bring the snow line a little bit further south as well. So as we go through midweek, we see underneath that we've got snow breaking out into portions of portions of Nebraska here, portions of Kansas as well, getting into Colorado. That'll eventually reach the northern parts of the panhandle of Oklahoma. And while our secondary system, our low pressure system, feeds wells to the south into portions of Florida with some light moderate rain, as you're going to be rebounding from the freezing temperatures which you're going to be seeing tonight as our first clipper system starts to wind down. Now, this whole area in the midsection of the country is fighting dry air. I mean, this whole area is under a severe and moderate drought. I mean, this whole area into Colorado, into the midsection of the country where they've had numerous red flag warnings lately, extreme fire dangers. I mean, all these areas are under an extreme drought, and much of Texas as well. So this is much needed rain, but it's fighting a lot of dry air, obviously, because this area has just been so bone dry. But underneath that low pressure, that has its own cold core aloft, and that's going to help drag down some colder air. So along with that Arctic blast, that reinforcing shot of an Arctic blast is going to come in on Wednesday morning, the 26th time frame. There's your temperatures to the north. Again, widespread negative below zero temperatures here. But that freezing line gets all the way down into Texas now. Now we're down to 23 in Amarillo. We're down to 27 in West Texas, all the way to the freezing mark in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So these are crucial, as the same time that upper level low is going to be spinning with that lift and be bringing that moisture down. So that shifts all the way down into the panhandle of Texas and New Mexico. So these are areas that have not really seen much precipitation whatsoever, but they're going to be getting it, but it's going to actually be getting it in the form of snow, because it's going to be cold enough to snow by the time we get into Wednesday morning, the 26th time frame. So underneath that, here's what we're working with. We've got light to moderate snow breaking out into portions of New Mexico here, getting into the panhandle of Texas. This could creep as far south as West Texas. Underneath that cold core, and plenty of time. We look at the time of day now. It's 6 o'clock in the morning, so this is your coldest time of the day. We've got an upper level feature, and all these areas are going to be below freezing temperatures. So all this activity is going to be falling in the form of snow. So as we get into the afternoon time frame, underneath that cold core, it's got its own it's going to be able to bring down that cold air aloft. And so that's, as the snow starts to fall, that's actually going to help cool the atmosphere even further. So underneath that cold core, you're going to be below freezing. But away from it, temperatures with time of day are going to be starting to rise. As the same time, we're going to have our upper level feature start pushing out eastward over and get it into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But then they're working with, again, the dry air in place and time of day, because as we get into the afternoon hours, just by time of day, our temperatures are naturally going to be rebounding. So by the time this upper level low feature gets into, say, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, it's really going to wind down. I mean, the temperatures are going to be well above average. There's not going to be much lift with it anymore. So more or less the heavier or the moderate snowfall is going to be in the panhandle of Texas, getting into West Texas. And yes, we could have, fingers trying to get in Dallas, but it really doesn't make it there. So here's the probability. So if you look at the current EPS guidance right now of all the areas of the probability of it snowfalling more than 1 inch, here's where we stand. So you want this number to be really about over 40%. 40% or higher gives you more, greater possibilities of it actually snowing in your area. So these areas that are highlighting in 70, 80%, coming in, all these ensemble members of the European model, there's the panhandle of Oklahoma. Yeah, you've got 80% chance it's going to snow in your area. So pretty good confidence it's going to snow. And then even in the panhandle of Texas, you got places 70%, even out here in New Mexico, 80%. So pretty confident it's going to snow in those areas. But once you get further into, say, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, these numbers drastically drop. So now we're only talking 10 to 15% chance of it happening. So it's not like off the table, but the probability of it for it to happen, because it's going to be fighting the dry air and the combination of just the overall, you're going to be heating up. It just the daytime temperatures, you're going to be 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon. By that time that upper level low traverses over the Dallas-Fort Worth area, it's going to be warm enough where all that dry air is just going to eat away, because this area is just so dry. It takes a lot to moisten up all layers of the atmosphere when you're basically under severe drought, right? So it takes a lot. You have to really have a system come directly over you and have a lot of lift with it for it to even rain. So that's why you get in these patterns sometimes where you just see like you constantly keep missing these systems. And that's exactly what happens. These system kind of gravitates towards the moisture in the atmosphere. That's why this first system on Monday is not going to be hitting Dallas, because it's so dry right now, and it just repels and kind of gravitates towards the moisture in the atmosphere. And it's going to be pushing off along the coast here, where they've got a lot more precipitation down here, a lot more amplified air down here by the coast. But yeah, now let's take a look at our setup going in for the weekend. So there's a lot of uncertainty for the weekend. So I'm trying to break this down right now on the 500 millibar on the North American view. So the setup here, we've got a ridge up in Alaska. I showed you all the well above average temperatures in Alaska, right? Plenty warm for Alaska standards. This is the Bering Sea block. And then underneath here, we've got an amplified Pacific jet. So this actually creates downward progressive, and this puts this ridge a little bit, amplifies this ridge out here. And with the application of this Pacific downward jet stream here, it's actually going to be able to push this. By the time this upper level low feature actually forms, I feel with this progressive setup, by the time it actually forms, it's going to be able to form offshore, well out, offshore off the southeast coast. And it's not going to allow this 50-50 low to actually develop. If this 50-50 low does not develop, by the time this setup, I feel I'm having more, an increased confidence that this low pressure is going to form off the southeast coast, but it's going to be pushing too far off the southeast coast by the time it actually pulls northward. This doesn't allow this 50-50 low to form. By the time this forms, you really want this feature or back further out west. And so by the time this pulls up, I do feel this low pressure, it's going to be a big storm, no question. this low pressure is going to be too far off the coastline to be a big storm potential for the Northeast. And so, yes, by the time we get into that Sunday time frame, yeah, this really amplifies and really deepens to a big storm. But by the time it does that, it's all the way in Nova Scotia. So that's what we're looking at right now. Because if you look underneath the surface, there's the map for Friday night going into Saturday morning. This low pressure system forms off the coast here, a 10-12 low pressure system off the southeast coast of the Carolinas. But because of this 50-50 low doesn't form, by the time it pushes all the way into Sunday morning, it really amplifies. We're down to a 962 millibar low pressure. So there's a lot of potential with this storm. But if it's offshore, most of the instability is going to be offshore. So it all depends on this progressiveness over the week with this 50-50 low setup and where this low is going to be setting up. So we've got a lot of time between now and then, but that's just what I'm kind of looking at right now. My confidence level is not very high with this system being a big storm producer for the Northeast coast, for a big snowmaker. I feel like it's going to set up too far offshore, and all the energy by the time it does that is going to be too progressive and push offshore. So yes, there is still a possibility it could form out west. I mean, this storm's well out in the Bering Sea. It's still well out here. So this is just the overall setup, kind of what I'm looking at as I'm, looking at the storm potential for, next weekend. So there's uncertainty for next weekend. So between now and Friday night time frame, we're pretty certain that these going to have these clipper systems going to come through. There's the moisture content, and then you have the moisture from the midsection of the country. We're bone dry out west. There's the upper level system that's going to form off the south coast here, getting into portions of Texas, but not really reaching Dallas too much with any beneficial rain. It's all going to be to the south, central Texas, South Texas, and along the I-30 and I-20 corridor here, and getting into mostly into Florida with bone dry into, more or less into the southeast with uncertainty as we go into the weekend. And plenty dry out west with our atmospheric river really dying down. But with the colder temperatures coming in for February, I feel the atmospheric river is going to be coming back by the time we get into that first week of February. So you're dry now out west, but I think the rain comes back for you and the snow comes back for you as we get into the first week of February. So there's the snow setup, for this week with our clipper systems that come into the north here, and then the other system coming into the midsection of the country, bringing the snow all the way down into the panhandle of Texas and snow into New Mexico here, as well as portions of Colorado. This whole area is bone dry. So yeah, we're talking snow in these areas, but it really starts to fade as you get into nothing in Oklahoma. And really, I'm not really expecting, as of right now, too much into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.